I always believed my marriage was strong. We laughed together, shared dreams, and spent quiet nights watching movies on the couch. My husband, David, had a calming presence that made me feel safe. But over the last few months, things started to feel different. He was distant, distracted. He smiled less, and I noticed he always kept his phone face down. I tried to ignore it. I thought maybe he was just stressed from work. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. It was a quiet fear that slowly grew louder each day. One night, David fell asleep early on the couch. His laptop was open next to him. I walked past it to grab a blanket for him, but my eyes caught something strange. The screen was still on, showing a folder I had never seen before. It was titled June 17, the date of our wedding. My stomach tightened. It could have been a coincidence, but it felt too personal. I stood there frozen, wondering if I should open it. My heart was pounding. I told myself maybe it was something sweet, a surprise. But I knew I had to look. I sat down and slowly clicked the folder. Inside were several subfolders, each labeled with random dates. The file names didn't make sense to me at first. I clicked on one that said, Dinner Night. A video opened. My hand shook as I watched David, laughing, talking, but not with me. He was sitting across from a woman I had never seen before. They were eating dinner, drinking wine, and looking into each other's eyes like they were in love. I froze. My heart sank. This wasn't a surprise for me. This was something else. Something much worse. I clicked more videos, my hands trembling. Each one showed them together. On walks, in hotels, even on a beach trip. I couldn't believe it. David, the man I trusted with my whole heart, had been seeing someone else. And not just once. This was going on for months. I looked at the dates. Some of those nights he told me he had to work late. Others, he said he was visiting his brother. Every single time, he lied to me. The betrayal hit me like a wave. I couldn't breathe. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. I sat there for hours, watching video after video. I didn't cry at first. I was numb. It felt like I was watching a movie about someone else's life. But then I saw a picture. It was of the two of them in our backyard. My backyard. The place where I planted flowers and drank coffee every morning. He brought her there. That's when the tears finally came. I felt rage, sadness, confusion, all crashing into me at once. I didn't know what to do. Should I confront him right away? Or should I wait and gather more proof? Instead of waking him, I closed the laptop and went to the bathroom. I splashed cold water on my face and looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes were red, my face pale. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. I felt like a fool. I kept asking myself, why didn't I notice sooner? How long had I been living with a stranger? I didn't sleep that night. I just lay in bed, listening to David's breathing, trying to make sense of everything. I needed answers. I needed the truth. But I wasn't ready to hear it yet. The next morning, David acted normal. He kissed my cheek, said good morning, and made coffee like nothing happened. I watched him carefully. Every smile, every word felt fake now. I felt sick to my stomach. How could he act so calm, knowing what he had done? I decided not to say anything that day. Instead, I waited for him to leave for work. The moment the door closed, I rushed to his laptop again. I needed to see if there was more. And that's when I found something even more disturbing. A second hidden folder named Plan B. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside were notes, actual written plans, lists titled, If She Finds Out. One note had bullet points. Deny everything, blame stress, fake therapy suggestion, and the last one read, disappear for a while. I couldn't believe what I was reading. He had planned for the possibility of me discovering his secret. He wasn't just having an affair. He was preparing for it to explode. It felt like he was playing a game, and I was the piece he was. moving around. I wasn't just betrayed, I was being manipulated. I printed everything, the videos, the messages, the notes. I needed to protect myself. I still didn't know how deep this went. Was the other woman married too? Did she know about me? Was I in danger? My mind was spinning. That day I couldn't focus. I barely ate. I kept looking at my phone, half expecting David to say something, to slip up. But he didn't. He came home like everything was fine. We ate dinner together, watched a show, even laughed a little. It made my skin crawl. He was acting, pretending, and I was done pretending too. That night, I decided to test him. I casually asked if he'd seen our wedding photos recently. His face tensed for a split second, just enough for me to notice. He said no, and quickly changed the subject. My heart confirmed what my eyes had seen. He was lying. Again. I started recording our conversations secretly. I wrote down everything he said, comparing it to the dates in the folder. Every lie lined up perfectly. He had built a whole second life while I was right there. I thought about leaving immediately, but I needed more. I needed to understand why. One night, I waited until he was in the shower and checked his phone. He never let it out of his sight, but he left it charging in the kitchen. I unlocked it using his birthday. He never changed his passcode. Inside, I found texts with the woman. Her name was Leah. They weren't just meeting. They were planning a future, talking about starting over, escaping the lies, and even moving to another state. My heart shattered again. He wasn't planning to fix us. He was planning to leave me behind like garbage. I felt humiliated and furious. I called a lawyer the next morning. Quietly, carefully. I needed to know my rights. I also changed all my passwords, opened a secret bank account, and started collecting every piece of evidence. The betrayal burned, but I refused to be broken. I wasn't going to let him walk away like nothing happened. I didn't tell anyone, yet. Not even my family. I wanted everything ready before I confronted him. I had spent years trusting him, loving him. Now I was using every ounce of strength I had to protect myself. The woman I used to be was gone. Days passed, each one harder than the last. Pretending everything was normal was exhausting. I watched David lie to my face and hug me goodnight like nothing happened. But the time was coming. I set a date. I planned to confront him Friday night after work. I invited my sister over to be with me just in case things got ugly. That Friday, I printed one last photo, a screenshot of him kissing Leah in our backyard. I put it in an envelope with all the files. That night, I placed it on the table in front of him. David stared at the envelope, confused. I told him to open it. He did. And as he looked through the photos and notes, his face changed. First shock, then anger, then panic. He tried to speak, to explain, but I stopped him. I told him I knew everything, the folder, the plans, Leah. I told him I wasn't scared of him anymore. He tried to deny it, just like the note said. Then he begged. But I didn't care. I was done with his games. I told him to leave. My sister stood beside me, and I watched him go. The silence after he left was strange, heavy. Part of me still hoped he'd turn around, apologize, beg to fix it. But he didn't. And I realized I didn't want him to. That man wasn't my husband. He hadn't been for a long time. I changed the locks, blocked his number, and started trying to rebuild my life. It wasn't easy. I cried a lot. I doubted myself. But every day I felt a little stronger, a little more like me. I had lost a relationship, yes, but I had found something far more important, my strength. Today, I share this story not for pity, but for power. To remind others that even the deepest betrayal cannot break you if you refuse to let it. If you feel something is wrong, trust your gut. Look closer. Ask the hard questions. I never imagined my life would fall apart because of a folder on a laptop. But sometimes, the truth hides in the smallest places. And when you find it, you have two choices: run from it or rise above it. I chose to rise. And I promise you, If you're hurting, you can rise too.